Hi everybody, Mike Reese. This is my second attempt at this video. I had another one that obviously my computer did not really appreciate the size of the video because it vanished. Poof. Anyways, this is basically a martial arts chat, and it's mainly because it was on my mind, and it was really called. At first, I was like, it's style versus style, the real issue, and this the real issue behind how I see this. In my opinion now, of what I really believe is why there's so many people saying style versus style. And what it boils down to, I have a whole bunch of points of the negatives, and then I have some that give, kind of like how we should fix it. And I'm just kind of try to lump this in as best I can to make this shorter, so obviously my computer doesn't lose it. But what it comes down to is there's a big giant. I think there's a lack of knowledge within the martial arts community about what they're studying, what they're learning, and basically not just what they're learning, what they're studying, but what you've been doing. I mean, can you imagine doing something for 10 years, like your job, and then someone comes in and says, "You've been doing it wrong. Let me show you the full spectrum of your job." And then you went, "Holy smokes. Why was I doing this part-time job along with this job and when I could have just done this part of my job and got the pay raise that covers both of these?" Okay, maybe that's a bad example, but at the same time, it's still out there now. But I likened it to this: a lot of people are out there. You have a lump of clay, which is your base style of martial arts. You started in Taekwondo, karate of any type, Kempo, Okinawan, which could be Okinawan Tei, or you can have Goju-Ryu, Shotokan, Kyokushin, whatever. It goes on and on and on. Like I said, it could be any of these: Taekwondo, karate, Jiu-Jitsu, any form of Kung Fu or Wushu, any form of these things that, or basically Chinese martial art, your Japanese martial art, your Filipino, your Malaysian, even Western style, boxing and wrestling and pancration and sambo and all these things. These are your base things that you work with, whatever you started in. And you have this lump, and instead of kind of asking questions and devising answers on how to make this work and forming it into a workable vessel that can handle anything, instead of doing that, you are going to, and I'm going to say you just because it's kind of generalizing martial arts people in general, as well as people that are just kind of ignorant or basically uneducated in martial arts. They instead of sticking with it, they take that lump of clay and they go, "Well, that's not a good lump of clay. Man, that doesn't look like a vase to me. That doesn't look like a pitcher. That doesn't look like a plate. That doesn't look like any type of ceramic that I can make. That's not what I was looking at." And instead they look at more clay and they're just, "Nope, that's not it either." So they jump from one school to another school, and what they're doing is they pile these clay on top of clay on top of clay until you got a mountain of clay and you got a whole bunch of it. But you still don't have your workable vessel. You just still don't have your vase. You still don't have your ceramic whatever. You got a chunk of marble that you basically, all you did was, I think I need more marble because that doesn't look good. Instead of seeing what you had as something that you could work into the work of art that you want it to be, you just rather just try to add on other chunks that aren't, still not formed. They're just your thing. It's just something that you haven't formed yet. The reason why you got people that are out there that are really good at what they do is because they've stuck with the art and they've had to form it to who they are, and they've made it to something that they are. That's why everybody goes, "Ooh, they're so impressive." And it's because they've made it something that they can work themselves because that's who they are, and it works awesome for them. It works great for them. And essentially that's what you want with a martial art. It's a self-expression of of combat and battle. It's your way of how you can do that. There's no set way, really. Honestly, there's not, because everyone's different. We all have ailments. We all have gone through different things in our lives that maybe we can't function the same way as other people. Um, Height, weight, bone structure, densities. If you're athletic, if you're not so athletic. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go into this. So we have a lot of people out there that are just not very knowledgeable, and they're just piling it all on, and they're accepting what all these people who are self-proclaimed experts or masters or whatever, that really don't have a concept of fighting. They don't understand what the ever-changing world of violence has become. And then they're jumping on bandwagons and because it's popular amongst media and TV or whatever's out there right now, it becomes very popular, so they jump on these bandwagons. And then you got the guys that are in the martial arts world that just want certification after certification after certification and belt after belt after belt, and it's like it's not doing you any good, because you've really not made anything out of any of those things. And instead you feel like you've done a lot, but then you've lumped it up and said, none of it works. All this doesn't work. I have to go find something else because this style doesn't work. You've generalized it because it didn't work for you. Maybe because you didn't stick with it long enough. Maybe because you just didn't ask the right questions. Maybe you didn't work on it and pressure it enough. Well, I don't know how to do that. Well, then that's the problem. You don't know what you're doing. And that's where a lot of these problems start coming in. You got bandwagoners, paper tigers, belt chasers, the sheeple that are out there. Yes, I said sheeple. Out there nodding their heads to people that are self-proclaimed or media-proclaimed experts or masters into something, and these people just don't have the knowledge or any idea of what the world has become. Still using outdated material. And I mean that by, not that the exercise and the techniques themselves aren't decent or anything like that, but you have to modify them for what's facing you today. What worked in the 1800s won't work today. People say, well, why not? Because information in the 70s and, let's just go back to the 70s, 80s, and 60s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, the mass wasn't out there. People weren't out there in your face, and it wasn't up until basically again in the late 90s and early 2000s that people started really getting the information out there. Now it's such a huge thing. Man, you go on the internet, you can find just about anything. You couldn't do that years ago. So you normally had an edge because you would show up and do something that they'd never seen before. Things like Silat and Kali are not yet prominent as their own thing yet. I mean, people could watch the Raid and Raid 2, and I would say, what do you think they're doing? Muay Thai and MMA? And they're not right. They're totally off. It's Silat that they're doing. They're Silat practitioners. The guy who does the choreography, he's fought in full contact competitions with Silat. I mean, they're Silat guys from Malaysia. When you watch things like Taken, people are like, it's Krav Maga. It's not. It's actually based off of a few different things of, I think, Wing Chun and a few different other styles, Krav Maga not being one of them. And I think that's what's funny. What happened with John Wick? Krav Maga. And then they go, no, that's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu. And really, it's just Jiu-Jitsu and Judo. Whether it came from Brazil, which it didn't, those were just Jiu-Jitsu moves and Judo moves mixed in with, with gunfighting and they called it Gun Fu. So they know it was just like a movie style of combative fighting, basically. Everybody likes to lump everything into MMA. Yeah, MMA. Sounds good. Or Krav Maga. That's bandwagoning. That's not that's not right. Check it out. I don't want to check it out. Then don't say something you don't know. And then we have all these experts, like I said, experts out there that kind of already had their opinion formed because they just didn't care for the system that they were in, for whatever reason. And they have this big negative plight against traditional arts, and it's because there's a lot of people out there giving these traditional arts a really bad name with the kind of some hokey stuff. And some people really believe in it. I don't care if you really believe in it. People believe in the no touch knockout. I'm sorry, you're not going to basically tell me that a no touch knockout exists. All the years, there's no way. But there's something to be said about certain other things. And people say, well, like what? Like the key demonstrations they do? Those are tricks. They're parlor tricks. They've always been tricks. But there is something to be said about people who hone their abilities, that understand their bodies, their minds, inside and out, that know what they're doing. They know the body. They know the anatomy. They know exactly how to, do things to the body. Now, I don't believe that, if you could sit there and say, well, the guy's tongue was moved or his toe is up or blah, 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 then it's ineffective. I don't care what you can do. If it is possible to do, if you can do anything like that, cross my fingers, my hair moves in an upward state or something, and it totally jacks it up, then it's not good. So you can make it, but you can make that opinion for yourself if you just do what it takes to stop this style versus style, because it's not style versus style. It's never been style versus style. It's uneducated versus educated. And when you talk about that, some people sound like some people probably think, well, I've been doing this for so many years. It's like I get it. I know you want to think that what you're doing is the best thing ever. Awesome. Is it though? Well, it needs this, that, and the other. Is it in your system before you go somewhere else? And if it is, awesome. If it's not, yeah, go seek an expert. But don't go looking for a belt. Just go to look to get the skill set. And then add it into your system of things. I guess I'm just getting tired of all these guys wrapping Grandmaster around their name, and they got these funky belts. Man, it was unheard of. And now you got a dozen of them just in a day that are showing up. It's like there's systems out there that have so many Grandmasters that it boggles my mind. It's like, how can you have so many Grandmasters? That is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous title. And it's, we've made that up. It wasn't like that's a title that's been given over from Japan or China or anything like that. Those guys didn't come up with those titles. We did. We came up with these titles because we want to feel comfortable with being considered something. We need that title for some reason, just for a self-deluded sense of purpose. We just have to have these titles, and it's ridiculous. But if you really get into what you really need to do, it's just expand your knowledge. You don't need a certificate, you don't need a belt, you don't need 45 seminars, and you don't need to go out there blowing all your cash because you just don't feel satisfied. You don't need to put another thing on your school every time you go to a seminar and get your whatever certificate they give you or whatever they're looking at, and you just to paste it on. No. That's ridiculous. All you're doing, you're just doing it for your fluff. That's it. And if you're doing it for that, you're doing it with no substance. There's no substance behind it. You have no idea if it actually is going to work. You don't know if it actually works with the stuff that you're doing. You have no idea. You're just putting it on and saying, yeah, it looks very effective. And when I put it on when we were training, it seemed good. When I did it in a competition, it held up. Awesome. Does it hold up against 5 guys punching you in your head? Nothing holds up against that. Really? See, this is the problem. Everyone's getting into this whole, this won't work, that won't work, this won't work, that won't work. And now some people say, it's because we're just starting to see it for ourselves, man. Are you? Are you stepping out and fighting 5 guys and saying, man, that just didn't work, man? Or are you guys just assuming that because some people who are really bad at what they do, you go, see? Told you didn't work. Okay. So if they're really bad at something, or they're practicing maybe just a really shoddy piece of work that's been handed down and it's just been really bad ever since, and they've been taught this, like I said, drinking the Kool-Aid and just nodding their head, and they never even tested it themselves. Okay, this is what you got to do. Take the clay that you have, form it. If you need more, you might, depending on the vessel you're trying to make. You might need more, but you need water, which means you need the ability to be able to form it into something else. You need that, which is the instruction. You need to see it that way. And then you need the fire to harden it, basically really put the pressure on it, really show it how it's going to become something workable. And then you test it. If I pour water in the vessel, does it hold? Like, say if I'm making a pitcher, I might have a lump of clay. That's not enough. That's fine. Get another lump, but then start forming these things together. You put more water on. You gotta start forming it, spin the wheel, and form that thing. And I'm talking about hand forming, okay? Because you need to have the hands and the mind. You need to see the picture in your mind. You have to have whatever it is in your head, and your hands are forming it. And you're forming that, and you're building it up as you're holding it, and you're building it, and then you start pouring. And then, like I said, you start getting, you go, okay, that looks about the shape I want. That's what I want. I'm going to put it in the fire now to harden it. You put it in there, and then you take it out of the fire, and then this is when you see, after you've put the pressure on it, you see if there was faults in it. You see if there's anything wrong with it. You see if it's cracked or if it's broken or whatever has happened. Well, it looks right, I guess. And then you put water in it. Is it holding the water? Is it holding, whatever you're going to put into it? Is it holding the liquids that you want to put in this pitcher? Is it holding up to what you want it to do? And if it doesn't, if it starts leaking, it starts breaking, it starts cracking or whatever, then it's no good. Throw it out the window. It needs to be redone. And it may not mean you need to add more clay. It might mean you need to form it better. You need to work on it more. It's a lot of times it is not style versus style. It's how hard you're working at it. Are you doing any good with what you're given? Are you putting it to any test? Are you firing it up? Do you have a vision for what you're doing? If not, then it's not an art to you. It's just a hobby. And that way you go, if it cracks, it cracks. I don't care. If it looks like a shabby ashtray, maybe it's not an ashtray. Whatever it is, you gotta work on it. You gotta build it up the way you need it. But just adding things on and on and on without forming it, without having a vision of what it looks like, you're never gonna gain what you're looking for. You're never gonna get it. And if you never put it through the fire to see if it's gonna be any good, and if it cracks and breaks under the pressure, and you didn't know, well, then you just had this clay pot sitting there waiting for it to be used, and you put water in it and just yeah, it's going to be a big giant mess is what it's going to be. A lot of times it just falls on the people working with the material. It's not really style versus style. It's educated versus uneducated. It's ignorant versus just compliant. Just ignorance and compliance going, that's right, I'll just follow everyone else. I'll just do what that guy says. You gotta do it for yourself. You gotta check it for yourself. You gotta train it. You gotta work it. You've gotta put pressure on it. You've got to do what you want it to do. If it's for competition, then do it for competition. If you're doing it for street fighting or whatever, your self-defense, then you need to do it for that reason, which means your material is going to be different. You're changing things up, how you work it, how it is. It doesn't mean that the other stuff is bad. It just means you are changing up what yours is. That's it. You're making a different styled vase compared to their pitcher. It has nothing to do with who's better, who's worse. It's all about perspective, and what the difference is it depends upon you. Okay, this is a free-flowing expression, guys, so you just need to be able to embrace that, and remember, it's all about what you do with it, not what each style is. Okay, don't get caught up in the hype, don't get caught up with everything else. Okay, seek out the truth yourself. Talk to you guys later.